Hi friends, and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making baked ziti and I can't wait to get started, so let's go. I have some avocado oil in my pan over medium heat, and I'm gonna add my meat now that it is nice and hot. You can't really see it, but it is smoking, so it's ready for the meat. And I have 2 pounds of meat to put in. If you've seen my other videos, searing your meat adds flavor. You want to make sure it gets a nice sear on it. This is a little bit high of a fire, so I'm going to lower it down to a 3, so that's medium low. And we're going to let that brown on the bottom so I get that nice caramelization, the Maillard effect. We want that browning to add flavor. So while that's browning, I'm actually going to add my seasonings now. That's totally fine to add it now. I'm going in with about a half a teaspoon of granulated garlic, maybe even a teaspoon. I'm going to go in with granulated onion as well, and I am going to be using fresh onion and fresh garlic. Okay, I was making sure it wasn't another granulated garlic. I have 2 granulated garlic because we use it so much. We're also going to go in with some kosher salt and black pepper. If you don't have kosher salt, you could use regular salt, but you want to use it to taste, not too much. You could always add, but you can't take out. So I used about a half teaspoon, maybe to a teaspoon, maybe a half teaspoon of pepper to taste. I'm gonna add a little bit of parsley just because I do like to add it. This is gonna be a baked ziti, so it's kind of a spin on my lasagna. I just don't feel like making lasagna tonight. I wanted to do a baked ziti. We're gonna mush this beef now. I'm actually using 85. I usually use 80%, but since we're gonna leave the grease in, I figured I'd use an 85. Again, you can drain the beef using 80, but I'm gonna be leaving the beef with the oil in there. So I'm going to let it all absorb into the meat while it cooks. I have my water for my pasta going. It's actually a low boil. I'm waiting for that to be a little bit more rapid. It is actually pretty rapid. I could add it now, but I'm not ready for it. So my food processor doesn't come further. This is as far as it goes. I should get one of those cordless ones, right? They have the new KitchenAid cordless, but I can't imagine spending the money on it right now just because I have this one and it works so well. So if you guys have that one, let me know if it works well. But again, this one doesn't do a bad job at all. Like, it's really great. I'm gonna add 1 whole onion to my mini food chopper. This is just the KitchenAid one. I gotta actually cut that one a little bit smaller. This should fit other ones. That 1/4 was a little bit too big. And then we're just gonna dice this up in our chopper. And we're just going for a nice chop on here. I want it to be kind of minced. All right, perfect. Then I'm gonna take this out and I'm gonna add this straight to my beef. I'm gonna go in with a few cloves of garlic. I think I have 6. Yeah, 6 cloves of garlic. You could use more or less, whatever you prefer. Ready, we're gonna do our garlic. Sorry for the loudness. Beautiful. I love how it works. See, like I do want the cordless one, but I can't leave this one if it works so well, all right? So we're gonna put this into our meat mixture now. I'm gonna use a flat spatula to get that in. Close that drawer and get all of those bits out. You wanna make sure you get all of it because you want all that in your meat mixture. Now you could do a different blend. I usually do pork and beef. I didn't get pork today. You could also do sausage and beef, or even ground turkey, ground chicken, whatever you like. I just want to have flavor, so that's why I usually go with a pork and beef. But they didn't have any pork today, so we went with a double beef. That's totally fine. We're gonna mix and mash this in. Oh, it smells so good already. All right, we got a big piece here. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Let's get those out. I mean, you could have left them in, but they were pretty big. Pretty gnarly. Is that what I was going to say? I think I was going to say pretty gnarly. It smells so, so good. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love this tool, by the way. If you don't have a good potato smasher or a potato masher, you gotta get one like this. It's so good. I use it for making guacamole. I make it with egg salad. I also use it for, obviously, ground beef. It's not just for mashed potatoes. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So I'm gonna add my rigatoni into the pot now because it's nicely boiling. I'm using 1 pound. You could use whatever pasta. You can even use ziti, but I just like using rigatoni. I feel like those lines in the rigatoni really absorb it all, the baked ziti that's flat, I don't love it. I'm sorry if you do. I want more for the sauce to grip onto. So we're gonna bump that up now that we added the pasta. And we're gonna come back over to our meat. Hi. And we're gonna give it a little zhuzh. It is looking good. I'm gonna get the sauce now. I know a lot of people don't like to use sauce in their cast iron. My cast iron is beautifully seasoned and I have no issue using sauce in it. But if you have issues with your cast iron using sauce in it, you're gonna wanna use a Dutch oven or even a stainless steel stock pot. That would be a better option for you. So I'm gonna open my canned tomatoes now. I'm using crushed tomatoes with basil. I'm using Tuttarosso brand, but you could use whatever brand you prefer. Go ahead and dump this into our meat mixture. And then I'm just gonna rinse it a little bit with some water so I can get all of it. A little water won't hurt. I just wanna get all of that tomato sauce out. 1 to 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. 1, 2. I'm also using a half a tablespoon of Better Than Bouillon roasted beef base. I feel like it gives it a nice depth of flavor, and we're gonna mix that in. I don't like it to be too thick, too thin. I think this is perfect, but if you like a lot of sauce and less meat, you could go in with another 15-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, petite diced tomatoes, or even tomato sauce. So now we're gonna let that sit and really cook down a little bit, and I'm gonna start on my bechamel. I'm gonna put that to the back. Playing musical pots here. All right, we're gonna put this to the back. I'm gonna put on a glove. That pan is hot. Putting it on a 4 and letting it simmer in the back. The back one is a smaller burner, so that's why it's 4. It's more of a medium-low. I have it on medium right now. So now we're gonna get started our bechamel. I have my saucepan here. So we're gonna start making the bechamel by using 1/4 cup of butter. And if you're dairy-free, you can use a plant-based butter. I like Country Crock for dairy-free. I'm gonna let this melt. I'm gonna put this on a pretty low, medium low. I'm on 3. And we're gonna let that melt. You can see the butter over there. Whee! There it is. So we're gonna let that melt, and then we're gonna add in our flour to make a roux. Butter sounds like it's getting sizzly. So we're gonna go ahead and get our 1/4 cup measure for our flour and then start whisking it in. And you wanna spoon and level your flour, or you can use a scale. So I'm just gonna get this more on the fire here. So our butter is nicely melted. I'm gonna add in our flour. Equal portions of butter and flour, and that's how we start our roux. That looks perfect. I'm gonna let this get cooked down a little bit. You wanna cook that flour out a bit. I'm gonna add some salt, pepper, and granulated garlic to this as well. Again, you could do this to taste. Not too much, not too little. To taste is usually the best bet. And you want it to have flavor. You can also add some Parmesan cheese to this. We're gonna slowly whisk in our milk. And this is gonna get thick and creamy, guys. Again, 2.5 to 3 cups of milk. All right, I'm gonna bump up my heat because I want this to have heat on it to actually thicken. Ooh, I poured that in a little too quickly. All right, perfect. I'm gonna let this get nice and hot. We wanna bring it to a boil, kind of like a low simmer, not a full boil. Check on my pasta. I wanna cook it kind of al dente, but not too hard. I'm cutting the heat on that. It's nice and al dente. I'm gonna drain that. Keep whisking this because I don't want anything to crust on the bottom or on the sides. I'm gonna preheat my oven now to 350 degrees because we're gonna bake this for about 30 minutes. Everything has to come together. Everything's gonna be fully cooked, but coming together in the oven is like the best way to cook a lasagna or a ziti because everything just melds together beautifully. So I'm gonna get out my cheese as well as my Parmesan. So we have some mozzarella and Parmesan. If you are dairy free, you could use like a Follow Your Heart or Violife. I prefer Follow Your Heart. It's a really good Parmesan. So we're gonna go in with 2 tablespoons. I'm just gonna use a big spoon. 1, 2, perfect. And that just gives it a nice cheesy flavor. I give my meat sauce a mix. It's looking beautiful back there. I'm gonna bump the heat up on that because I want it to simmer a little bit less. I want it to simmer, not so much just sit. So that's looking good. While our bechamel is thickening, I'm going to dump our sauce into the pasta. Holy guacamole, it's a heavy pot, guys. I'm gonna rest it. Rest it right on, oh my gosh. Super heavy, I love it, but oh my goodness, it's so heavy cast iron. I'm mixing this up now so the meat can flavor the pasta a little bit while we wait for the bechamel, but also I don't want the pasta to dry out, so there we go. So when it's ready for me, it coats the back of a spoon. That means I'm gonna put this spoon in here and I can go like that. So we're gonna go in with a layer of the meat sauce with the pasta and then a layer of the bechamel and mozzarella on top of that. So that looks about good. Do a little bit more here and maybe over here and here. Perfect, I want it all covered. And then we're gonna use shredded cheese, but you could also use fresh sliced cheese. It's all personal preference. I'm just using mozzarella. You could also use some, actually, I'm gonna use mozzarella. And then I'm also gonna put a little bit of parm. I don't like to go too crazy with the cheese. And then I'm gonna add some grated parm. There we go. Perfect. Again, just like you would with a lasagna or even a regular baked ziti, with the ricotta, you're just literally subbing out the bechamel sauce. It smells so, so good. Oh my goodness. And this is kind of easier. You don't have to do all those sheets of pasta, but I really will say I love lasagna, so both are really amazing. Almost dropped a noodle, I had to carry it over. Okay, now we're gonna go again with the bechamel and the cheese. And if you wanted this to be thicker, you could even do 1/3 cup of butter and 1/3 cup of flour. It's completely optional, whatever you prefer. But I would keep to the at least 2.5 cups of milk. This way that you have enough to go all over. Because this is enough for 2 layers, and then maybe a little bit on the final layer. So we're gonna do the last layer of pasta and meat sauce. Oh shoot, I did get it. I dropped it on my stove. I just cleaned the stove yesterday. I swear, I scrub this stove deep clean once or twice a week, but I like to do cleanups here and there, but whenever I clean it, deep clean it, next day I have to deep clean it again. It always happens. Perfect. You don't need to even add the bechamel on top. You could just do cheese, but I like to have that little bit of layer of flavor on the top from the bechamel. Now again, we're gonna go in with some cheese. If you're dairy free, you could use Follow Your Heart for shredded and grated. That looks great. I'm gonna add a little bit, just for color, of parsley on top. You can leave that out if you'd like. Just a little bit of green. Then we're gonna bake this for 30 minutes, and I'm gonna clean my stove while that's happening, because oh my gosh, guys, I got it all over my stove. So now all that's left is cover this with aluminum foil, or if you have a covered baker, you can cover it with the cover that it comes with, and we're gonna bake it for 30 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna take the tin foil off. I'm gonna put it back in the oven and let the cheese melt on top for about 10 minutes. Now the worst part of this recipe is actually letting it cool down because it is way too hot to cut and you'll burn your mouth off. If you can hear it, it's actually bubbling in there. It's pretty much boiling. It's super hot. It is done and ready to enjoy. I let it cool for like 15 to 20 minutes because it is burning hot. I'm just gonna go for a noodle with some cheese on it and then some of that beef. Oh, it looks so good. Ready? Because we cooked the pasta till like just before al dente, it's still tender, it's not mushy, and it's really soaked up all the sauce. So remember, we put the meat sauce with the pasta while we were cooking the bechamel and letting that thicken. It really absorbed all the flavors. Then we baked it. Oh, so good. So instead of using ricotta, we used a bechamel. Some people like to use cottage cheese. There's so many different ways you can make it. Some people don't even use cheese at all. I really like the bechamel. I feel like it's creamy and it's not too overpowering. Some people don't like cheese in there at all. And this is a great way if you need to make it dairy-free that you're not gonna miss the ricotta and you're just gonna get that creamy texture and that beautiful flavor. It's so flavorful. It's really creamy too. I can eat this whole plate right now. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest with my family, and I hope you guys give this recipe a try. I will see you guys soon. Bye, friends.